What if I told you that the man women never leave is not the richest, not the most handsome, not even the most charming? What if I told you that his secret is something far deeper, something every man can build, yet very few truly understand? Stay with me, because once you know this, you'll never see relationships the same way again. When we talk about emotional security, most people underestimate its true power. They imagine that relationships are fueled primarily by passion, attraction, or excitement. But the reality is that these things, while thrilling, are temporary. The glow of beauty fades, the thrill of infatuation softens, and the excitement of novelty becomes routine. What lasts, what truly holds a woman in a relationship, is the unwavering sense that she is emotionally safe with the man she chooses. Emotional security is the invisible foundation that every strong, lasting relationship stands on. Without it, no amount of physical attraction can prevent cracks from forming. And this is where most men miss the point, thinking that charm or appearance is enough to make a woman stay. A woman may be impressed at first by physical attraction, but she will only stay if she feels emotionally secure. This is the unspoken truth behind why some men are unforgettable. Emotional security means that a woman feels she can fully express herself without fear of being judged, dismissed, or ridiculed. It is when she knows that her vulnerabilities won't be used against her, that her silence won't be misunderstood as indifference, and that her emotions won't be labeled as weakness. Women carry emotions deeply, and they carry responsibilities that many men may never fully understand, balancing expectations, relationships, fears, and hopes all at once. To have a man who provides emotional security is to have a safe space in a world that often demands she hide parts of herself. When she feels safe, her loyalty becomes effortless because she is not holding back any part of who she is. She feels whole in his presence, and that wholeness is what makes her attached to him in ways that are unshakable. What makes emotional security outshine physical attraction is that it grows stronger with time instead of fading away. Attraction can be powerful in the beginning, but its intensity usually decreases as familiarity sets in. Emotional safety, however, deepens with every experience, every conversation, and every challenge faced together. A woman who knows she can fall apart and still be held with gentleness will never compare that feeling with mere physical desire. For her, it becomes a kind of rare treasure, a place where she doesn't have to perform, pretend, or prove her worth. And when a man provides that, he doesn't just win her attention, he wins her trust in a way that is nearly impossible to break. This type of man does not confuse dominance with strength. Instead, he shows strength by being emotionally stable himself. He is not shaken by mood swings, not provoked by small disagreements, and not threatened by her success or independence. His calmness is not passive. It is powerful because it tells her, I am here no matter what storm you bring. That assurance is priceless. Women crave consistency in emotional connection because life is already unpredictable. When her heart feels secure with a man, she doesn't need to seek reassurance elsewhere. She doesn't need to fear abandonment, rejection, or betrayal because his actions and his words align in a way that reinforces her safety. Another important layer of emotional security is the ability to listen, not just to respond, but to understand. Most men hear words, few hear emotions. The man who women never leave is the one who pays attention to how she feels, not only to what she says. He remembers the small things that matter to her, not because she repeats them endlessly, but because he values her enough to notice. This attentiveness reassures her that her emotions are valid, that she matters deeply to him. And this, again, is where physical attraction falls short. No matter how handsome a man is, if he makes a woman feel invisible, she will detach from him emotionally. But a man who creates emotional visibility, making her feel heard, seen, and valued, creates a bond that outlives the initial spark of attraction. Emotional security also means stability during conflict. Every relationship will have disagreements, but what determines whether a woman stays is how conflict is handled. If a man attacks, belittles, or dismisses her during arguments, he destroys her sense of safety. But if he listens calmly, speaks respectfully, and works toward resolution instead of domination, she feels safe even in tension. This is crucial because women don't stay with the man who never disagrees. They stay with the man who makes them feel secure, even in disagreement. That ability to protect her dignity during conflict builds a level of trust that no amount of physical passion can compensate for. In the end, emotional security is the highest form of attraction. It is subtle yet powerful, invisible yet undeniable. A man who provides it becomes more magnetic over time because instead of being associated with temporary pleasure, he becomes associated with peace, with comfort, with home. A woman may be drawn initially to physical traits, but she only stays where her heart feels protected. And once she experiences that deep emotional safety with a man, leaving him doesn't feel like walking away from a relationship. It feels like tearing herself away from the very ground that holds her steady. Respecting boundaries and valuing individuality is one of the deepest ways a man can show love, yet it is often misunderstood in relationships. Many men believe that closeness means control, that love means possession, and that commitment gives them the right to shape or influence every part of a woman's life. But in truth, the man women never leave is the one who understands that love is not about confining someone. It's about giving them the freedom to be fully themselves without fear of judgment, restriction, or rejection. Boundaries are not barriers. They are healthy lines that protect individuality, self-respect, and emotional balance. When a man respects those lines, he proves that he values the woman not as an extension of himself, but as a whole person with her own needs, space, and identity. This recognition creates a rare kind of bond because she feels that she can both belong to him and belong to herself at the same time. When a man respects boundaries, he doesn't interpret them as rejection or distance. He understands that when a woman says she needs time alone, space to think, or moments for self-care, it does not mean she is pulling away from him or loving him any less. Instead, it means she is honoring herself so she can continue to show up fully in the relationship. Too often, men take boundaries as a personal insult, responding with pressure, guilt, or emotional withdrawal. But the man who women never leave reacts with maturity. He trusts her enough to give her what she needs without questioning her loyalty. He doesn't cling, he doesn't beg, and he doesn't create unnecessary drama because he knows that true love flourishes only when both people feel free, not suffocated. And it is this sense of trust and respect that makes a woman feel deeply secure with him. Valuing individuality goes beyond respecting boundaries. It means celebrating who she is apart from the relationship. A man who values individuality does not compete with her ambitions or diminish her passions. He does not mock her dreams, nor does he try to reshape her into a version of himself. Instead, he sees her uniqueness as part of the beauty she brings into the relationship. When she thrives, he feels proud rather than threatened. When she grows, he supports rather than resists. This type of man allows a woman to shine without fearing that her light will overshadow his own. And in that freedom, she not only grows into her best self, but she also becomes even more connected to him because she knows he is a partner who lifts her up, not one who holds her back. Boundaries also apply in communication. A man who respects them doesn't force conversations when she is not ready to talk. He doesn't push her to reveal feelings before she feels safe enough to share. He understands that timing matters, that patience is part of intimacy, and that listening without pressure often opens doors that force never could. By allowing her to share at her own pace, he creates an environment of trust where vulnerability can naturally grow. And once a woman feels that her voice is respected, her individuality honored, and her silence accepted without punishment, she begins to see him as a rare and irreplaceable partner. Respect for individuality is also reflected in how a man handles differences. No two people are the same, and disagreements are inevitable. But the man women never leave is not the one who insists she must think like him, act like him, or believe what he believes. He doesn't demand sameness. He welcomes difference. He values her perspective even when it challenges his own, and he allows space for her personality to exist independently of his. Instead of shaping her into his image, he admires the diversity she brings into his life, understanding that her individuality is not a threat, but a gift. This makes her feel truly respected because she is not just loved for her compliance, but valued for her uniqueness. A woman who experiences this kind of respect never feels trapped in the relationship. She never feels like she has to lose herself in order to keep him. Instead, she feels that she is gaining more of herself through the love she receives. This is what makes boundaries and individuality so powerful. They allow love to be a choice, not an obligation. When a man gives a woman the freedom to be herself, she chooses him again and again, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And in that choice lies the deepest kind of loyalty that no amount of pressure or control could ever create. Confidence is one of the most attractive qualities a man can carry, but not all confidence is the same. Some men wear confidence like a mask, built on attention, validation, or temporary achievements. They thrive only when people notice them, praise them, or admire them, but the moment that attention fades, so does their sense of worth. This kind of confidence is fragile, constantly needing to be fed by the outside world. On the other hand, the man women never leave is the one whose confidence is rooted in self-worth. His assurance comes from within, not from how many compliments he receives, how much money he earns, or how many people approve of him. He stands strong whether people applaud or criticize him because he knows his value is not negotiable. This type of confidence feels different. It feels grounded, unshakable, and trustworthy. When a man's confidence is born from self-worth, he does not compete with others to feel significant. He doesn't need to prove himself by being louder, richer, or more dominant than those around him. Instead, he carries himself with calmness, knowing that his identity does not depend on comparison. A woman feels this energy instantly. She can tell when a man is secure in himself versus when he is performing to be seen. The secure man doesn't chase attention in rooms full of people. He doesn't boast endlessly about his achievements, and he doesn't panic if he is not the center of attraction. His presence speaks louder than any words he could use to validate himself. This steadiness makes a woman trust him because she knows that if his confidence comes from within, then no external circumstance can easily shake him. This kind of self-rooted confidence also transforms how a man shows up in a relationship. A man who relies on external validation often places unfair pressure on his partner. He expects her to constantly reassure him, to admire him endlessly, to inflate his ego when the world does not. Over time, this becomes draining because no woman can carry the responsibility of keeping a man's confidence alive. But the man whose self-worth is intact does not put that weight on her shoulders. He doesn't demand constant reassurance because he already knows his worth. Instead of needing her to complete him, he allows her to complement him. That difference changes the entire dynamic of a relationship. It shifts love from dependence to partnership. Another mark of this confidence is the way he handles rejection or failure. A man driven by external validation crumbles when he fails because failure means others will see him as less. He avoids risks, avoids growth, and avoids vulnerability because he fears what people will think. But the man who stands on self-worth sees failure as feedback, not as a reflection of his identity. He is not humiliated by rejection because he knows that rejection does not erase his value. This resilience makes him incredibly attractive to women because it shows that he will not collapse under life's pressures. She sees in him a partner who will not only stand strong in the face of challenges, but also help her remain steady when she feels weak. Self-rooted confidence also shapes how he treats people around him. A man dependent on validation often belittles others to feel superior, or he surrounds himself with people who make him feel powerful. But a man whose confidence comes from self-worth treats others with respect because he does not feel threatened by their strengths. He can admire someone else's success without feeling diminished, and he can celebrate his partner's achievements without insecurity. This makes his love clean, without competition or control, because he is not trying to maintain his worth by keeping her small. A woman feels this difference deeply. Being with a man who celebrates her individuality rather than resents it creates a rare kind of emotional freedom. Even in his physical presence, this kind of confidence is evident. He doesn't need to raise his voice to command respect. His calm tone is enough. He doesn't need to flaunt what he has because his energy already communicates stability. People are naturally drawn to him, not because he demands attention, but because he radiates authenticity. Women sense the peace that comes from this kind of inner confidence. It reassures them that he is not acting out of fear, insecurity, or desperation, but from a place of grounded self-assurance. That reassurance is magnetic because it allows her to relax into his presence without worrying that she must constantly feed his ego to keep him satisfied. Confidence rooted in self-worth is the difference between a man who temporarily attracts and a man who permanently keeps. It is the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be proven because it is already known within. And when a woman experiences that kind of man, she understands that his value doesn't come from her validation or anyone else's approval, making him not only trustworthy, but irreplaceable. Communication is often spoken about as the backbone of any relationship, yet so many people misunderstand what true communication actually means. Most think it is simply about talking, expressing opinions, or saying what comes to mind, but communication in its most powerful form is about connection. The man women never leave is not the one who just talks a lot or dominates conversations. He is the one who communicates with clarity, honesty, and empathy. His words are not weapons, nor are they vague and confusing. His words create understanding, peace, and trust. He does not leave her guessing what he feels or where she stands with him because he understands that confusion breeds insecurity. Instead, he communicates in a way that reassures, strengthens, and unites. Clarity in communication means that he says what he means and means what he says. A woman should never have to decode a man's mixed signals or wonder if his actions align with his promises. The man who communicates with clarity removes that unnecessary anxiety by being direct yet respectful. When he says he will do something, he follows through, and when he cannot, he communicates it clearly instead of disappearing or creating excuses. This builds an environment of trust where she feels that his words are reliable. A woman who feels secure in a man's clarity no longer spends sleepless nights over-analyzing his texts, his tone, or his behavior, because his consistency speaks louder than her doubts. This kind of clarity is rare, and because it eliminates confusion, it makes her attached to him in a way she would never to a man who leaves her constantly questioning. Honesty is another pillar that sets him apart. Honesty is not about brutal words or careless truths delivered without thought. It is about transparency with respect. A man who communicates honestly does not hide behind lies, half-truths, or manipulation to protect his ego or to avoid discomfort. He understands that honesty, even when difficult, is what allows a relationship to stand on solid ground. A woman may not always like the truth, but she will always respect it if it is delivered with integrity. Lies may win temporary peace, but they destroy long-term security. A man who chooses honesty over deception proves that he values her trust more than his convenience. This makes her feel safe because she knows that even in moments of vulnerability, he will not mislead her or betray her with dishonesty. His truthfulness becomes a form of protection, showing her that she can lean on him without fear of hidden agendas. But communication without empathy becomes cold and mechanical. Empathy is what brings depth to clarity and honesty. Empathy means that he listens not just to respond, but to understand. It means that when she speaks, he doesn't just hear her words, but also pays attention to the emotions behind them. Empathy requires emotional presence, the willingness to put himself in her shoes and consider her perspective, even when it differs from his own. A man with empathy doesn't dismiss her feelings with phrases like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not a big deal." Instead, he acknowledges her emotions and validates them, even if he doesn't fully agree. This validation creates an atmosphere where she feels heard and understood, which is one of the deepest emotional needs a woman has. The combination of clarity, honesty, and empathy makes communication transformative rather than transactional. It means that disagreements do not escalate into battles of pride because he approaches them with the intent to resolve, not to win. It means that misunderstandings don't linger for days because he clears them with transparency and patience. It means that she doesn't have to shrink her feelings or silence her voice because he welcomes her perspective instead of shutting it down. A man who communicates this way creates emotional intimacy, and that intimacy becomes the glue that holds the relationship together through challenges and changes. This type of communication also removes the fear of abandonment or emotional neglect. Many women leave relationships not because there is no love, but because they feel unheard, unseen, or dismissed. The man who communicates with clarity, honesty, and empathy prevents that void from forming. He gives her the confidence to open up, to be vulnerable, and to share her inner world without fear of being ignored or misunderstood. Over time, she associates his presence with comfort, with safety, and with the freedom to express herself. That sense of emotional safety is far more powerful than charm or appearance because it touches her at the deepest level of connection. A man who communicates this way does more than just speak well. He builds a language of trust and intimacy that becomes the foundation of the relationship. Every word, every silence, every gesture reinforces the message that she is valued, respected, and understood. And in that kind of environment, she not only stays, but she flourishes because his communication does not silence her, it amplifies her, making her feel that her thoughts and emotions have a rightful place in his life. A man who inspires growth instead of controlling or limiting is the kind of man who leaves a lasting mark on a woman's heart. Many men believe that control is a form of love, that if they dictate her choices, monitor her steps, or restrict her freedom, they are protecting her. But in reality, control suffocates love. It makes her shrink instead of expand. And over time, it kills the very connection they are trying to preserve. The man women never leave is not the one who cages her, but the one who creates space for her wings to grow. He understands that love is not about holding someone down, it is about lifting them higher. His presence encourages her to become more of who she truly is, not less. He sees her potential, her dreams, and her ambitions, and instead of standing in the way of them, He supports them with pride. When a man inspires growth, he does not see her independence as a threat. He does not panic when she makes progress, nor does he feel diminished by her success. Instead, he celebrates it as if it were his own, because he understands that her growth does not weaken the relationship, it strengthens it. A woman who feels free to grow within a relationship never feels the need to escape it. She does not associate the man with restriction, but with empowerment. And empowerment builds loyalty in a way that control never can. While control breeds resentment, inspiration breeds gratitude. She stays because she feels alive with him, not because she feels trapped. This kind of man pushes her gently toward becoming her best self, not through criticism or force, but through encouragement and belief in her. He reminds her of her strengths when she forgets them. He helps her see possibilities when she feels stuck. He challenges her when she underestimates herself, not in a harsh way, but in a way that makes her believe in her own abilities. This encouragement creates a dynamic where she is not only loved, but also evolving. She sees him as a partner who adds value to her life, not one who drains her spirit. And when a woman feels that she is growing with a man, she naturally wants to hold on to him because he becomes tied to her personal progress and happiness. Growth also applies to the relationship itself. A man who inspires growth does not settle for stagnancy. He understands that love is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing journey. He doesn't just want the relationship to survive. He wants it to thrive. That means he works on communication, intimacy, and shared goals. He invests in the bond, ensuring that it evolves rather than decays. His willingness to grow alongside her creates a partnership that feels alive and ever expanding. She knows she is not in a static relationship where things remain the same year after year, but in one where both partners are continuously becoming better versions of themselves. A man who inspires growth also teaches by example. He is not just telling her to be strong, ambitious, or courageous. He embodies those qualities himself. He invests in his own growth, whether in his career, mindset, or emotional intelligence. By constantly working on himself, he motivates her to do the same. She sees his commitment to becoming better, and it inspires her to rise with him. Growth becomes a shared journey rather than an individual pursuit. And this shared journey builds a deep sense of connection because both partners are evolving together rather than drifting apart. Most importantly, a man who inspires growth never uses love as a tool of control. He does not threaten to withhold affection if she doesn't conform. He doesn't limit her friendships, her career choices, or her voice. Instead, he supports her freedom, knowing that true love is proven not by how tightly you hold on, but by how much you allow the other person to flourish. He knows that if she grows into her fullest self, her love for him will only deepen, not fade. This trust creates an unbreakable bond because she feels that he does not fear her evolution. He welcomes it. Inspiring growth instead of controlling is what makes a relationship feel like home and adventure at the same time. Home, because she feels safe with him. Adventure, because she feels like she can keep expanding while by his side. And that balance is rare, which is why the man who creates it becomes unforgettable in her heart. Peace is one of the most underestimated qualities in relationships, yet it is the very thing that makes a man irreplaceable in a woman's life. So many men confuse excitement, drama, or intensity with love. They believe that keeping a relationship alive means keeping it chaotic, unpredictable, or filled with constant highs and lows. But what truly makes a woman stay, what truly anchors her soul to a man, is the peace he brings into her life. A man who creates peace doesn't make her feel like she's in a battle every day. He doesn't make her question her worth, her place, or his loyalty. Instead, he becomes a calming presence, the one person she can count on when the world feels heavy. His love doesn't drain her, it restores her. And that restoration makes him unforgettable because peace is far rarer than passion in relationships. Creating peace in a woman's life doesn't mean avoiding conflict or pretending that problems don't exist. It means handling challenges with maturity, patience, and respect. It means disagreements do not turn into wars where her dignity is attacked or her emotions are dismissed. A man who creates peace knows how to disagree without destroying the bond. He approaches conflict with the goal of resolution, not domination. He listens without judgment, speaks without cruelty, and responds without impulsive anger. In doing so, he proves that even in difficult moments, she is safe with him. That safety is a kind of peace that no material wealth or physical attraction can provide. And once a woman experiences it, she will not want to lose it. Peace also comes from emotional stability. A woman who is constantly walking on eggshells around a man, never knowing what mood he will be in or how he will react, will eventually feel exhausted. The man who women never leave is the opposite. His emotional state is consistent, reliable, and calming. He doesn't erupt at small issues, doesn't lash out over misunderstandings, and doesn't let pride dictate his responses. His stability becomes her sanctuary because she knows she can lean on him without fear of being pushed away or punished. Emotional peace is like oxygen in a relationship. It may be invisible, but without it, everything suffocates. A man who provides it becomes essential in her life, not because he controls her, but because he soothes her. Peace is also created through the way he supports her growth, her individuality, and her well-being. Instead of competing with her or holding her back, he nurtures her dreams and reminds her of her worth. She doesn't feel drained by him, she feels fueled by him. He doesn't add unnecessary stress to her life, he reduces it. He doesn't make her feel small or silenced, he amplifies her strength. And in that encouragement, she finds rest. She no longer feels that love is a battlefield where she must fight to be seen or heard. Instead, love becomes a refuge, a place of calm in a world that often feels overwhelming. That sense of refuge is why women stay, because leaving it would feel like walking away from the very ground that keeps them balanced. Another dimension of peace comes from loyalty and consistency. A woman cannot feel peace if she constantly wonders where she stands in his life, if she is competing with other women for his attention, or if his promises are genuine. A man who creates peace eliminates that uncertainty. He makes his commitment clear, not just with words, but with consistent actions. She doesn't have to guess whether he will be there. He shows her through his reliability. She doesn't have to compete for his love. He reassures her with his devotion. That reliability silences insecurities, and silence in the mind is the deepest form of peace a woman can experience. Peace also manifests in the way he carries himself in her life. He doesn't bring unnecessary chaos, reckless behavior, or constant instability into the relationship. Instead, he carries himself with integrity, responsibility, and balance. His life is not perfect, but it is steady, and that steadiness spills into her world. Being with him doesn't feel like being on an emotional roller coaster. It feels like being on solid ground. She knows that no matter what happens outside, his presence will bring her calm inside. And that kind of presence is rare because it is not built overnight, but through character, discipline, and emotional maturity. A man who creates peace becomes irreplaceable because peace is something no woman is willing to trade once she experiences it. Passion can fade, excitement can come and go, but peace is what allows love to endure. It allows her to breathe deeply in his presence, to rest her soul without fear, and to embrace life without carrying constant emotional burdens. In a world full of noise, unpredictability, and stress, the man who offers peace becomes the one place she never wants to leave.